So we're headed off to New Mexico to meet some family for a halfway meetup. And along the route, I decided to check out Meteor Crater. It's located about 37 miles east of Flagstaff and about 18 miles west of Winslow, off of Highway 40 or Route 66 in the northern Arizona desert. Despite historical attempts to make the crater a public landmark, the crater remains privately owned by the Barringer family to the present day, through their Meteor Crater Company, which proclaims it to be the best preserved meteorite crater on Earth. It is an important educational and research site and is used to train astronauts. Since the crater is privately owned, it is not protected as a national monument, a status that would require federal ownership. However, it was designated a national natural landmark in November of 1967. It started with this small remnant of once was 150 foot across nickel iron meteorite. That would be about the size of the Statue of Liberty, not including the base. The impact speed is estimated to be about 29,000 miles per hour.
Moving at 11 miles per second, a meteor raced through the solar system towards Earth. Immense shock waves were created as it approached from the east. Hurricane-force winds threw 175 million tons of material in all directions. The shock of impact melted most of the meteor and spread it with the large plume of debris. It took just 10 seconds and Meteor Crater was formed.
There are two viewing points, I guess you might say. The one I'm standing on now, which was a lot of steps to climb up to, and a platform down below that's a lot of steps to climb down to. But if you take the guided tour that's included in your admission, you get to walk on this flat area along the rim. The guided tour is definitely a must, and since, like I said, it's included in your admission, you might as well take advantage of it. And again, the walking path is pretty flat. The information provided by your tour guide is very interesting. Meteor Crater lies at an elevation of 5,640 feet above sea level. It's about 3,900 feet in diameter and is currently around 560 feet deep. To put it in perspective, I'm standing on the rim and zooming into the bottom of the crater. There, if you see that white speck, is a 6-foot tall astronaut dummy, like this one, to give you an idea how deep this is. And of course, it's alongside the American flag. About half of the impact's bulk is believed to have been vaporized during its descent through the atmosphere. Impact energy has been estimated at 10 megatons. The crater was created about 50,000 years ago, when the local climate on the Colorado Plateau was much cooler and damper. The area was an open grassland dotted with woodlands inhabited by mammoths and giant ground sloths. Zooming in on this area supposedly is wreckage from a Cessna 150 that flew into the crater on August 8, 1964. I couldn't find the wreckage, but anyway, it's there somewhere. After crossing the rim, the pilots could not maintain level flight. The pilot attempted to circle the crater to climb over the rim, but the plane stalled, crashed, and caught fire. Both pilots were severely injured, but survived. The majority of the wreckage was cut up and hauled out by hikers, as well as a Volkswagen that someone pushed over the edge. It all had to be cut up and hiked out by hand. Crazy. The debris field is about 2.5 miles in circumference. It was carved into this once flat rocky plain. Over 175 million tons of limestone and sandstone were abruptly thrown out to form a continuous blanket of debris surrounding the crater. Fragments of rock and iron nickel, some as large as a few feet across, were thrown as far as several miles away. The guide mentioned during the Arizona monsoon season, because of all the iron scattered about the rim, it makes for a heck of a lightning show during a storm. All in all, I guess we're pretty lucky. When that meteor hit the Earth, it spared that building right on the edge. Wow, we got lucky. Inside the visitor center, there are all kinds of exhibits for you to explore. The guide mentioned that one of the first astronauts to train there tripped, fell, ripped up the spacesuit, which meant they had to go back to the drawing board. My next stop is just a few miles away. I'm headed to Winslow, Arizona. Just a few miles east of the Meteor Crater is Winslow, located in the Navajo County of Arizona. According to the 2020 census, the population of the city is about 9,000. It's approximately 57 miles southeast of Flagstaff. The town is pretty doggone small. I mean, I'm traveling now on Route 66, the actual Route 66. Highway 40 is just a mile north of this. And I was actually shocked. Talk about old-time towns. Here we are at the corner of Winslow, Arizona. I can't tell you how much I wanted to play the actual song, but I'm afraid YouTube's gonna nick me. Well, I guess we'll find out. That was just a short clip. Anyhow, it was very cool to see what they did here. And the one bar or two clubs are playing the song. Winslow achieved national fame in 1972 in the Eagles' Jackson Browne song, Take It Easy. That has the line, standing on the corner in Winslow, Arizona. Funny thing is, Winslow was named for either Edward F. Winslow, president of the St. Louis and San Francisco Railroad, which owned half of the old Atlantic and Pacific Railroad, or Tom Winslow, a prospector who lived in the area. No one seems to really know. As I was heading out of town, going back to the 40 to continue the trip to New Mexico, I ran across this. Fascinating. This plaque states, "These two steel beams from the World Trade Center, entrusted to the citizens of Winslow by the City of New York, along with this flag that was flown at the Pentagon, stand as the centerpiece of our remembrance gardens. The words 'United we stand' remind the world that we will not fear terrorism. We hereby dedicate this garden to Northern Arizona's promise that we will never forget." To think that I'd be so far from home and be able to touch a piece of the World Trade Center is incredible. What a cool find. Just a few miles east of Winslow is Holbrook, Arizona, and the home of one of the 3 surviving Wigwam motels located on Route 66. The Wigwam Motels, also known as Wigwam Villages, is a motel chain built during the 1930s and 40s. The rooms are built in the form of teepees, mistakenly referred to as wigwams. Originally, there were 7 different locations, 2 in Kentucky and 1 each in Alabama, Florida, Arizona, Louisiana, and California. 2 of the 3 surviving motels are located on historic Route 66 in Holbrook, Arizona, and San Bernardino, California. The 3rd is in Cave City, Kentucky. All 3 of their surviving motels are listed on the National Registry of Historic Places. It's pretty cool how they have all these historical cars parked at each wigwam. I think it gives it a great aesthetic. The maids were cleaning, and I got to take some pictures inside of one that was open. They're kind of tiny, but they do have a heater and a TV and 2 beds and a bathroom. So heck, can't be all that bad. And it was pretty busy. I think the place was sold out. Heading east on Highway 40/Route 66, we leave the Wigwam Hotel and head for Gallup, New Mexico, where we head north. My niece did an amazing job to find the halfway point from my home in Long Beach, California, to her home in Dallas. Angel Peak scenic area located on the BLM land, which means free camping. Yahoo! Just east of US Route 550 is County Road 7175. This 6-mile-long dirt road will take you directly to the Angels Peak BLM campgrounds. The 9 campsites are located on this loop, and there are some pit toilets. We got lucky and got the best spot. When I say lucky, the place was full and these people were leaving, and this spot is at the trailhead of Angel Peak. These are the tires that I'm meeting my niece and her husband that I've hauled all the way from California, and the reason for this trip. And here you go, folks. There's Angel Peak. Angel Peak National Recreation Area is more than 10,000 acres of scenic badlands, about 15 miles southeast of Bloomfield in San Juan County, New Mexico. The area started forming about 60 million years ago as the ancient water flows piled up layers of mud and sand that turned into stone over time. About 70 million years ago, the oceans withdrew and the dinosaurs that once ruled the earth vanished. The face of the land changed. Between 50 and 30 million years ago, the Rocky Mountains rose to the north and east, and other mountains formed the west. As rains washed down into the San Juan Basin from the surrounding mountains, the water carried with it sand and silt from the mountains. Streams and rivers formed, flowing into a rich land of grasslands, marshes, lakes, and forests. Over time, these deposits formed the layers of rock you see around Angel Peak. The top layer is mostly sandstone, much harder than the siltstone and mudstone below it. And as generations of animals and plants lived and died here, they were buried in the sand and silt and then preserved as fossils. Hey Mom, look, here they come. I do like this picnic areas at each camp spot. I think it's pretty cool. A neighbor came over and introduced himself while I was waiting for them to arrive and announced his name as Bone Crusher. Nice guy though. Speaking of bone crushers, Tell me all about it. What is it? Tell me. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, we got busy setting up camp and getting those tires out of the back of my truck and started with a nice campfire. It was so cool, and the view was amazing. You ever hear of square pegs and round hole? Well, they brought the wrong air mattress for their tent, and it didn't quite fit, so we had to do some finagling. But all in all, it came out great. We had a great dinner and fire and watched the stars. It was magical. What a great place. What a good job picking out this spot. The next morning, we started off, or the kids, with some coffee, sitting over the most amazing view at Angel Peak, and I devoured homemade pumpkin bread that was amazing. And hey Ryan, what are you doing? Deflating? While Ryan was deflating the air mattress so we could get it out of the tent, I should make note that you cannot hike to the top of Angel Peak, but you can hike up to and around it and along the Badlands. If any of you were to visit Angel Peak, I sure hope you can get this spot.
Zephyr, what are you doing? You're on film, say hi.
What a great time. So we packed up and we headed north about 30 miles because we all were going to go visit the Adobe Ruins National Monument. Just before the campground area of Angel Peak, they have day-use picnic areas with picnic tables and trash cans. So we stopped there to get rid of our trash and this is a view from one of the day use areas. 30 miles north of the campground is the Adobe Ruins National Monument, so we all headed there to go check it out. The Aztec Ruins National Monument is located in northwestern New Mexico near the town of Aztec, about 12 miles northeast of Farmington, New Mexico. I have to say, nothing chaps my ass more when I get to a national park and they're out of the guidebooks. Over 1,000 years ago, ancestral Pueblo people constructed a large planned community that served their society for over 2 centuries. Aztec Ruins National Monument, which is part of the Chaco Culture National Historic Park World Heritage Site, preserves the remains of this well-planned community, which is the largest ancestral Pueblo community in the Animas River Valley. While the ancestral Pueblo people are responsible for the construction of the site, the ruins received their name when early European settlers mistakenly attributed the ruins to the Aztecs of Mexico. A visit to the park provides not only a glimpse into the life of ancestral Pueblo people, but also a place to connect with the cultural heritage of Native Americans today. The ancestral Pueblo probably chose this area for its location in the Animas River Valley, with its close proximity to the river. Early farmers could take advantage of the constant water supply. These factors likely provided the people with a reliable source of food, which possibly allowed them the ability to settle into a single location. Built on and below a terrace overlooking the river, the planned community would ultimately have large and small public structures, earthworks, ceremonial buildings, residential pueblos, and roads. Excavation of this site revealed artifacts such as food remains, stone and wood tools, cotton and feather clothing, fiber sandals, and jewelry made of turquoise and shells. This extensive planned community likely served as a trade, ceremonial, and administrative center for many of the scattered communities associated with Chaco Canyon. The builders used local adobe mud for the structure's walls. For roofing, they used cottonwood, pinyon pine, juniper pine, spruce, and Douglas fir, which they obtained from mountains many miles away. When the building ceased in the late 1200s, the community consists of several great houses, great kivas, that's the Hopi word for ceremonial chamber, small residential pueblos, earthworks, roads, and tri-walled kivas. The structures and landscapes were all constructed and modified to give continuity and formality to the overall essence of the community. By about 1300 AD, the ancestral Pueblo people left this region and dispersed southeast, south, and west. A combination of factors such as drought, climate change, depletion of natural resources, and social changes may have influenced the decision to leave their well-planned community. This here is the remnants of what they called a room block. While the area was vacated about 1300 AD, many southwestern Native Americans maintain a deep connection with this place through their traditions and ceremony. Aztec Ruins National Monument connects modern people with the distinct civilization that inhabited the Aztec, New Mexico area over 1,000 years ago.
Zephyr, what do you see? What do you see, Zeffy?
Because the national park was very adamant that we could not bring the dog inside, which was quite strange, Ryan went with me to tour it very quickly, and then I came out and hung out with Zephyr while they went and toured. It was a whirlwind trip to New Mexico for sure. We had a great time, but it was time to say our goodbyes as I had to head back home. Heading west from Aztec National Monument, I head to Shiprock, New Mexico. Traveling through northwestern New Mexico is really a treat. I've not seen landscape like this on any of my journeys. It's amazing. You just drive through flat land and all of a sudden there's this shiprock that just protrudes straight out of the ground. Turning off the main road to the dirt road to get to the shiprock, there's this like thin wall that just protrudes straight out, and it's so thin there's like holes in it. You can see right through it. It's pretty crazy, and it leads you right to it. Shiprock, or as the Navajo call it, rock with wings or winged rock, is the monadnock rising nearly 1,583 feet above the high desert plain of the Navajo Nation in San Juan County, New Mexico. Its peak elevation is 7,177 feet above sea level and is about 10.5 miles southwest of the town of Shiprock, for which it is named for. Governed by the Navajo Nation, the formation is in the Four Corners region and plays a significant role in the Navajo religion, myth, and tradition. Shiprock is a point of interest for rock climbers and photographers and has been featured in several film productions and movies, such as Transformers, Natural Born Killers, John Carter, Finch, The Lone Ranger, just to name a few. It is the most prominent landmark in northwestern New Mexico, and in 1975, Shiprock was designated a national landmark by the National Park Service. Say that 5 times fast. Northwestern New Mexico is fascinating. Like I said before, it's just flat land and all of a sudden these protrusions sticking straight out of the ground. In the future, I hope to come back, but right now I gotta head from Shiprock to Kingman, Arizona for my overnight stay as I travel west back home. I have to say, traveling through Arizona, they have top-notch rest stops and some great aesthetics to look at. Good job, Arizona. Not only do they have great rest stops, but driving along the piece of Route 66, you're entertained by these old-fashioned Burma shave signs along the route. So there is a jump of Route 66 north of the 40 that you can take that'll take you into the north side of Kingman. And that takes you through a couple fun towns like Hackberry and Seligma. It's worth that little bit out of the way to see things like this. I mean, the last time I saw these signs was going through, I think it was North Dakota or South Dakota. Anyhow, a lot of fun. And I did make it to my destination before sundown, which was great. It's always a pleasure to be able to visit friends and or family along my little trips. Gives me a nice place to clean up and travel on. This is my favorite tree that I always park next to when I go to Kingman. And I really enjoy the sunset there. It's pretty awesome. But I have another stop, or maybe two, on the way home west. So here we go. Heading west on 40/Route 66. I'm heading west, and we're going to stop in the Mojave Desert and visit the Kelso Depot. The Kelso Depot Restaurant and Employees Hotel, or Kelso Depot, now also the Mojave National Preserve Visitor Center, is located in the Mojave Desert National Park. It's about 20 miles north off of the 40/Route 66. The exit off the 40 is Kilbaker Road. You just head north. It was placed on the National Register of Historic Places, and along with the adjacent ghost town of Kelso, was declared a United States Historic District in 2000. Now, Mom, I know I said ghost town. It really is just a jail and a building, and we'll get to that in a minute. It's always my luck. They're either out of brochures or the buildings are closed. I tell you, so I have to take photos through the windows. Anyhow, it was designed by the firm of John and Donald Parkinson. The facility served interstate passengers and shipping traffic and the transport of ore from local mines, especially the Vulcan mine. It was an essential element of the 1920s modernization of the Union Pacific Railroad stations to compete with the Santa Fe Railroad and its Harvey houses. The oasis-like landscape design and overall style and character of the remote station made it a popular gathering place for Union Pacific employees, passengers, and local residents. The original gardens with shade from Fremont cottonwoods and Chinese elms with manicured geometric lawns lingered, but did not survive the desert conditions between the depot closure and the park's visitor center restoration. Only date palms survived. The Kelso Depot served as a significant element in the Union Pacific's contribution to the American war effort during World War II. The end of World War II marked the beginning of a long decline in the depot's utility. The sharp decline in the volume of freight traffic and diesel engines replacing steam caused a reduction in service and the need for fewer employees. The Vulcan mine closed early in 1947, further reducing the freight and passenger traffic. In 1953 and 57, attempts were made to market the low-grade iron ore stockpile at the Vulcan mine. However, high horsepower, second-generation diesel-electric locomotives of the 1960s resulted in a further decline in the Union Pacific personnel needed at Kelso. The Kelso Depot closed on August 14, 1964, but the lunchroom remained open until 1985. Okay, Mom, here we go. Here's your ghost town. It looks like this once was the post office. I don't really know because they were closed and there was no brochures. So I guess an old post office, one rickety structure, and a foundation considers a ghost town. Oh, here's the jail. I don't know really, but it was there by the railroad tracks. So I guess that was the jail. So much for the Kelso ghost town. Anyhow, it sure was fun to visit. And I think this crow had a good time too, watching me. Why do they watch you? I don't understand. The Union Pacific proposed the demolition of then unused depot in 1985. Efforts to preserve the building culminated in 1992 and transferred to the Bureau of Land Management and its East Mojave National Scenic Area. The depot was restored in 2002, and by 2005, it became the main visitor center of the Mojave National Preserve. Leaving the Kelso Depot, I do have another stop for y'all. Okay, we're going to head over to the Kelso Dunes. Alrighty. From the Kelso Depot to the 40 is just about 20 miles, like I said. And here's the sign. I was just a couple miles out of town. As you can see, it's just real close to the 40 from Kelso Depot to the 40, and then the dunes are right in between. So all of this is within 20 miles. So it makes it for a nice little trip. Just west of Kilobaker Road is the turnoff, which is a dirt road that leads you to the Kelso Dunes. Kelso Dunes represents part of a much larger sand transportation system, which includes the nearby Devil's Playground region. The composition of the sand grains indicates that most originated from the Mojave River sink near Afton Canyon, which lies west of the dunes' current location. The Kelso Dunes are comprised of 5 stacked sets of dunes, each set corresponding to a period of climate change over the last 25,000 years. During dry climate episodes, a decrease in stabilizing vegetation exposed the surface sand to wind erosion, which ultimately brought the sand to the dunes. Most of the eastern part of the Kelso Dunes was formed when nearby Soda Lake and Silver Lake dried into their current playas. However, once the sand was in place, vegetation began to grow, locking much of it back into place. I'm not sure what happened, but I must have lost all that footage of me hiking to the top of those dunes and sliding down. Oh well, I'll have to redo it again next time. I really do enjoy traveling through the Mojave Desert and finding all these quirky little places to go visit and see. And I think I have another one for you. Heading south from the dunes on Kilobaker Road, we're going to cross the 40, head straight down to National Trails Highway, head west through Amboy and Amboy Crater, and I did a really good video about that. Here's the thumbnail. You can find it in the list. And from there, we're going to go to Bagdad, California. Just an FYI, National Trails Highway is actually the original Route 66. On the left, you can see Amboy Crater as we approach the little town of Amboy. And let me remind you, that previous video I did a complete tour of the whole town of Amboy. But today we're going to just drive right past it, fly through, and head over to Baghdad. As I passed Amboy Crater and continued, I was fixated on this lava mountain, and no signage, no nothing. But then I passed Baghdad, so I had to turn around and go back. But we'll get back to this here in a moment. So, turning back around, and I missed it again. that tells you how big this town of Baghdad is. Had to get out the map and go, where the heck is it? Anyway, we're coming up on it, and we're going to take a little visit to Bagdad, California. Okay, here we are in Bagdad, California. This is crazy. I just saw it on the map when I was kind of searching. I thought, I have to go here. I didn't expect it to be this. The town was founded in 1883 when the railway line between Barstow and Needles was built. At this time, Bagdad provided service to the Orange Blossom Mine several miles to the north and to the War Eagle Mine several miles to the south. Bagdad was a long and thriving town along the famous Route 66. It was bypassed by the opening of Interstate 40 to the north in 1973 and lost traveler business and resident population. The town was leveled in 1991, leaving little. As you can see, you can get a view of Meteor Crater just down the road. Bagdad holds the record for the longest dry streak in the United States history with 767 straight days without rain from October 3rd, 1912 to November 8th, 1914. The only thing left in this town is this tree, and they even have a sign to protect it, or at least asking people to protect it. As I was searching for Bagdad, I found this turnaround spot and noticed there was a monument literally just across the road from it. So after leaving the last remaining tree of Bagdad, I decided to go check out and see what this monument was all about. The plaque reads, "Hallowed Ground." During the years 1930 and 1931, the Department of Commerce built a network of emergency airfields for use by commercial aviation. During World War II, the government converted many of them to military use. This location of Bagdad Auxiliary Field, the airfield consisted of 2 unpaved runways in an L pattern. Each runway was 3,960 feet in length. The airfield had a beacon for nighttime identification and underground fuel storage. On April 9, 1942, just 4 short months after the attack on Pearl Harbor, a USAAF ATY navigator was on a navigational training exercise with 5 crew members from Mathard Field in Sacramento, heading to Tucson, Arizona. Around 8:40 p.m., residents in the small community of Bagdad could hear the aircraft approaching, and they were able to see its wingtip lights. At the last minute, the residents said they could hear the radial engines of the aircraft accelerate. The aircraft impacted in the desert short of the runway. The landing gear was torn from the aircraft as it cartwheeled across the desert for 250 yards. Wreckage was scattered over a quarter mile. No official cause of the crash was determined, but pilot disorientation was suspected. There were only 2 grave sites, both unmarked. I'm not sure if 2 of the 5 men are buried there or not. But I did look around and I could only find the 2. These are the service members that gave their lives. Heading west on Route 66, I wanted to go back and check out that other crater to see what the heck it is. I checked my maps and I looked around for signage and zippity-doo-dah, nothing. I find this really interesting because here in America we name everything. To put all this area in perspective, Amboy, the town, is 8 miles east of Bagdad, which makes the Meteor Crater 6 miles east of Bagdad. If we were to travel 7 miles west of Bagdad, we would end up in Siberia, California. I checked the map. It looks like there's less there than there is in Bagdad. But I'll visit there in some future trip. Getting up close and personal to this, I should say, volcanic formation, let's say. It looks like it was like a mini volcano, and this side here was blown out, much like Amboy, but Again, zero documentation that I could find online or on any map. Crazy. It does have a great view of the Meteor Crater, about 6 miles away. Clear skies, wow. Anyhow, there's that. I wish I knew more about this volcanic formation. This black dot is where we are right now. This is the formation. If anybody out there in the YouTube world has the history on this, please let me know. Alrighty then, let's head back onto Route 66 and get to our last and final destination. And with a little bit of movie magic, we make the hour and 40 minute trip to Landers, California, so I can camp at Giant Rock. I know that's in a lot of my movies, and I always seem to fail to show you Giant Rock, so I will on this one. The reason for that is, if I leave either between 9:30 and 10 to miss the morning traffic, and I'm on that road around 10 o'clock to make that 158 miles home through Riverside and LA, I won't have any traffic. So it is one of the best spots. I know it like the back of my hand, so I can arrive day or night and find one of my 3 favorite camping spots. Put it in perspective, it's just about 10 miles outside of Yucca Valley and about 40 miles from the 10 at the Highway 62 exit, which is one exit past Palm Springs exit. So that should give you an idea on the thereabouts of Giant Rock. FYI, I am aware of this filthy camera lens, but it's inside, and nobody will service it, not even Canon. I have a new one on order. So Giant Rock has a lot of history. The longitude, latitude, and all kinds of lines pass this little area, and therefore this is a hub for aliens to communicate and visit. You have to look it up in Google. I did a video about this a long time ago. A guy dug a hole and built a house underneath of it, and it just became crazy. Howard Hughes was involved. They built a dirt runway out here so they all could have their alien conventions on specific time of the year when all the stars aligned. Anyway, you have to Google it or go back and watch one of my Giant Rock movies and learn all about it. But it is a kind of a magical place, and like I said, this is the last BLM land area before you head back into the city for someone like me, and timing is everything to miss any type of LA traffic. So anyhow, there it is, straight ahead. There is the Giant Rock. It is the largest freestanding rock in North America. There is a big chunk that has been detached, and they say that campers, I think in like 2012, lit a big bonfire right on the edge, and in the middle of the night I think it heated up or cooled down and it just exploded. People in Yucca Valley 10 miles away heard the explosion and the big chunk fell off. But there you go, guys. There is Giant Rock. If you ever want to check out Giant Rock, here's one good thing to know. When you put it in your GPS and you take the roads through Landers to get to it, within a quarter mile of hitting that dirt road, you lose all internet. So keep your map on. Also, it's only 3 miles from the paved road to Giant Rock on the dirt road, and practically any car can do it. This is no special or hard road to make it on, so it's pretty cool. My favorite camping spot is, as we turned around and started heading back down the road, is just around the corner here. There's like a V, and you can go way up on the top, and guess what? You get internet again, and the mountain behind you kind of blocks the wind at night, and it makes for amazing sunsets. So pretty cool. Giant Rock never disappoints on the sunsets, that's for sure. It's always absolutely beautiful. And so I lit my campfire, had a good night, and then I put out my trail camera, because I always leave out high quality dog treats, and captured some of the coyotes coming to grab a bite to eat. So cool. I know you're gonna love it, Moms. I had to save it for last. I've noticed more at Giant Rock than any other place that I've camped that around sundown you really hear the coyotes playing and crying and making noise. They also said there's mountain lions here. I have yet to see one, and hopefully my trail camera will find them in the future, as long as any other creatures. But it's pretty cool. This is my first time using it, and I got lucky. The flashing light you see in the upper left by the tree there is probably from 29 Palms, the Marine station up on a hill. All these clips were taken, according to the timestamp, from about 2:50 a.m. to 3:30 a.m. Kind of looks like it's the same dude coming back and forth. I wonder if he's got babies somewhere, or she, and he's taking the treats back. And here's the sunrise at Giant Rock. Pretty cool. And here is the overview map of all the places that we visited. And I love you, Mom.